Hey Nick, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. What do you see from Mekhi Becton? I know he's only played one game, and there's not a lot of NFL film out there from him. But big guy, what do you see from him, and what are the challenges that face you?
Yeah, there's not much tape. Uh, obviously the Bills game I've been watching. He looks like he can move for somebody that size. He definitely looks like he lost a little bit of weight since college, and he can move a little better now. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna just go with go with my normal game plan and just use my moves and work my rushes and hopefully catches him a little off guard.
Hey Nick, Javon Kinlaw was just in there talking about how he has not improved. Like he's improved, but he's really hard on himself in kind of critiquing his play. Have you noticed that from him? Is there something that do you kind of help him keep his confidence up and moving forward as he's going through this first year? Do you talk to him about that?
Yeah, I mean, we're always on him. Uh, I mean, it's not like we're telling him what to do because he already knows exactly what to do and how to get better. He's hard on himself, which any good football player is hard on themselves. And sometimes it's tough to see the progress every day, so you kind of get anxious and you want to see your improvements day by day, and that's not realistic. But if you just go out with a good mentality every day to practice, you will get better and throughout the season. And he's doing that. I've seen substantial improvements from the beginning of camp to now, and all the technique stuff is starting to come to him, and now he could just start playing with his ability, which is scary.
Nick, Robert Saleh said when talking about the 2019 draft and choosing between you and Quinn and Williams that the organization was pretty steadfast in saying it was Bosa or bust. I'm curious if you could offer up your reaction to that idea, and did you become close at all with Quinnen during the draft process, and what kind of player do you think he is?
I'm just really happy that I ended up here, and I'm glad they felt confident enough to pick me. And Quinnen, I hung out with him a bit at the combine. He's funny, good dude. I don't know much about him as a player, but I watched him his junior season at Alabama, and he looked amazing. And I'm sure he's going to get the hang of it here pretty soon because he's super talented and he's got everything he needs. So, yeah, I mean, two good players, and I'm happy I got picked one above him.
Hey, Nick, as we talked about Javon, it's true that he seems to be his own biggest critic. But one thing I noticed, he talked all camp about how he wanted to develop more than a bull rush, that was his primary thing. I thought we saw a lot more than a bull rush in this game. I'm wondering, from your perspective, watching the tape, playing, alongside of him, how would you evaluate that first start in terms of, the technical mastery or the technical progress that he was able to show?
Um, I'd say it's super encouraging how he played in the first game. You could just see a lot of the stuff he was doing was just natural ability and just reacting and instincts, which is something you don't teach. And obviously, he's got to learn a few things and just learn how to use his God gifts. But for him to go out and make a couple plays right off the bat there against a really tough team to make plays against, it's super encouraging. And I mean, he's probably at 50% of his potential. Just to give you an idea of how. Not saying that he's doesn't have technique or anything, but once he really gets the hang of it and figures out what he could do, then I think he could really be a great player.
Nick, Robert Saleh mentioned that in terms of containing mobile quarterbacks like Kyler Murray, it's kind of the responsibility of the defensive end. What did you see on tape from that game, and where do you think you guys can improve in that respect?
I think we started off well with our game plan. First 10 drives were as good as you could pretty much do against those guys. And then once the tempo got going, a few stupid plays, a few mistakes, a few penalties, and they get the tempo going and you're tired, you can't get off the field. And then it turns into their type of game. And that's not what you want against the Cardinals, because if they could play their type of football, they're really tough to beat. They're kind of like the Ravens in the sense that when you play them, you have to change what you do to stop what they do. And yeah, I mean, we started off good. We let them towards the end. We got a little tired and got out of our rush lanes, and Kyler broke the pocket, and it's just a recipe for disaster at that point.
Nick, what was just kind of, I guess, the overall vibe and mojo of the D line room Monday and this week as you guys just try to kind of recalibrate and just get all that spirit that you had last season?
Yeah, it was kind of anxious, just frustrated a little bit. Obviously, we didn't start off how we wanted, and but it's the NFL, and you got to move on to the next week because there's a lot more games to be played. And if you let this feeling linger, then you're not going to play well the next week. So I just think just putting that behind us, we're playing a team that allows us to kind of play our scheme this week, and we're excited about that. And yeah, it was just kind of like putting that behind us and getting on with the season and getting back to what we do.
And Nick, you're probably going to be tackling a 37-year-old running back a couple times on Sunday. What do you know about Frank Gore, and can you imagine still playing 15 years from now?
I definitely can't imagine that right now, but I know that he's from, I don't know if he's from South Florida, but he went to UM, right? And I know he trains down in South Florida, so a lot of my buddies from high school and college and know him and have been around him. First time I met him was in the locker room after the Super Bowl last year, so that wasn't the best situation, but he just told me to keep my head up and gave me like a few words of good advice. And he seems like an unbelievable dude, but he's obviously the enemy this week, so I'm going to get after him.
Hey, Nick, Trent Williams was just in here talking about how he uses visualization a lot in his game in terms of visualizing a play, visualizing a win. Is that something he's talked to you at all about, or anything that you might have interest in?
I haven't talked to him about that, but I feel like I use a little bit of that visualization. Just like, 'cause sometimes, like, for instance, I'm playing a tackle that there's not much film on this week, so I kind of just visualize what I would be doing on a play while I'm watching film instead of watching what one of the Bills rushers were doing. So I'm like envisioning what I would be doing step for step, hands, whatever, finish. So yeah, there's definitely visualization. I don't like thinking too much about exact play, like exact things, like I'm gonna sack him on this play, and if I don't, then oh my god, I missed it. Or so I try not to get too deep into the visualization, but whatever Trent's doing is working, so it works for him.
Nick, Trent Williams had a pretty amazing block in that last game where he threw the linebacker down. Is that something that you expect from him? Did you take a look at that? What did you see from him on that play?
It's pretty clean cut. He destroyed that guy. I think that's super impressive, and that's something that not many tackles do, but I'm more impressed with how he held up against Chandler Jones the entire game, and he made Chandler look like an average dude out there, which is almost impossible to do. And for him to do that first game back, that's pretty unbelievable. So I think it's really cool to have somebody who's the best at what they do, bar none, number one, best at what they do on your team. And I watch him every day, and I'm just happy he's on my team.